You've probably handled some money already today, right? Maybe bought a coffee, paid for transport.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's just so, part of life. We barely think about what currency actually is.
True. It's just there.
So today, we're going to unpack that a bit. Take a closer look at currency. It actually came up because one of you listeners asked about it.
Yeah, and to get into it, we've got a couple of interesting sources lined up. There's a YouTube video, episode 40 from English Podcast Zone 2, all about currency.
Okay.
And then also from them, some stuff on, believe it or not, viruses.
Viruses. Okay, that sounds like a bit of a curveball. Currency and viruses.
I know. It seems odd. But stick with us. Our mission here is to see if there's some, surprising links to get a richer picture of currency, maybe even how we think about other systems.
All right, I'm intrigued. Let's start with the basics then from that first video. Currency is just money, right? But specific to countries.
Exactly. That's the core definition they give. The official money used by different nations.
And they gave examples.
Yeah, some good ones. Like Ecuador and the U.S. both use the U.S. dollar. That one surprises people sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Then you've got India, obviously, with the rupee. Britain uses the pound sterling.
Okay.
Australia, the Australian dollar. Hong Kong, the Hong Kong dollar. Switzerland, the Swiss franc. It shows you it's quite a mix out there.
Definitely. So how do all these different monies, these currencies interact? People travel, trade?
Great question. And that leads right into Forex, foreign exchange.
Forex. Heard that term.
In the video, there's this chat between John and Pete. John says he's been trading currencies, euros, dollars, pounds, rupees. He's buying one, selling another. So right away, you see currency isn't static. It moves. Its value changes relative to others.
Okay, trading currencies.
Yeah.
And John mentions he doesn't need tons of money to start. Something about a margin deposit.
Yes, exactly. That's a key part of Forex trading for many people. The idea is you only put down a small percentage, a deposit of the total value you want to trade.
Like a down payment.
Sort of, yeah. But it lets you control a much larger amount of currency. The video mentions maybe up to 100 times your deposit.
Whoa, 100 times.
Yeah, they use this analogy like putting down just $1, $10 could let you trade with $1,000 worth of currency. It amplifies your trading power, basically.
Amplifies. Sounds good, but does it amplify the risk too? Seems like it would have to.
Absolutely. That's the catch. It magnifies potential gains and potential losses. If the currency moves the wrong way, you can lose money very quickly, even more than your initial deposit sometimes.
Oof. Okay. High risk, high reward then.
Definitely. It's generally for people who really understand the markets and can handle that level of risk. Now, how do you actually make money? The video explains that too. John talks about buying Chinese renminbi low.
Okay.
At a low asking price, he says, and then selling it later at a higher bid because its value appreciated drastically.
Okay. So appreciation, the value goes up. You buy it. It gets more valuable compared to maybe the dollar or whatever, and you sell it. Makes sense.
Precisely. And the opposite is depreciation when the value goes down. It's all about these fluctuations.
What makes them fluctuate so much? Is it just random or?
Oh, not random. It's driven by, a whole bunch of complex economic stuff.
Right.
Things like how well a country's economy is doing, interest rates set by their central bank, inflation, government debt, even political stability plays a role.
Wow. Okay. Lots of factors.
Yeah. Like if everyone suddenly wants to buy goods from, say, Japan, they need yen. So demand for yen goes up and its value might appreciate.
Gotcha. And if a country's economy is shaky,
then maybe its currency depreciates. People lose confidence. Now, the video also breaks down some trading jargon. Bid, that's like an offer, right, what you're willing to pay.
like on eBay or something.
Exactly like that. And the asking price is what the seller wants to get.
Okay, bid and asking price. Makes sense.
And they also mention split-second decision, which really paints a picture of how fast this market moves. You got to react quickly.
Yeah, no kidding. This sounds intense. Then they talked about Ecuador, right? Using the U.S. dollar. That sounds like a huge step.
It was, and it came out of a really tough situation.
Yeah.
Apparently, back in the late 90s, Ecuador had insane hyperinflation.
Hyperinflation, like prices just soaring.
Totally out of control. Their own currency, the sucre, was losing value incredibly fast. The video gives this example. Something costing 3,000 sucres one day might cost 25,000 almost the next.
Wow. That's hard to even imagine. It must have wrecked people's lives.
Absolutely devastating for savings, for buying groceries. So, yeah, the government felt they had to do something drastic.
Have other countries gone through that kind of extreme inflation?
Oh, yes. Sadly, it's happened quite a few times in history. Zimbabwe is a more recent example people might remember. Lots of factors can trigger it.
So what were Ecuador's options back then?
Well, the video mentions two main paths they considered. One was trying to fix their exchange rate to the dollar, kind of like Argentina did at one point.
Right.
The other, more extreme option was just ditching the sucre altogether and adopting a stable foreign currency. They went with the U.S. dollar.
And that's called dollarization.
Yep, full dollarization.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go to Ecuador now, you spend the same greenbacks you use in the States.
Wild. What were the pros and cons they mentioned? I guess stability was the big pro.
Huge pro. It stopped the hyperinflation, made international trade much simpler, predictable,
But the con, giving up your own money seems like a big deal symbolically, but also practically.
It is. A major implication is losing control over your own monetary policy.
Meaning
You can't adjust your own interest rates to manage your economy, fight inflation, or boost growth. You're essentially tied to whatever the U.S. Federal Reserve decides is best for the U.S. economy.
Okay. So you lose a major economic tool.
You do. And there's also something called seigniorage, the profit a government makes just by printing its own money. They lose that too.
Trade-offs. But I guess in their crisis, stability was just paramount.
Seems like it, yeah. The immediate need probably outweighed those longer-term concerns at the time. Okay, so that whole discussion sets us up for this seemingly weird jump to viruses.
Right, the viruses. Okay. How are we connecting currency fluctuations and the flu?
Yeah, okay. It's not about the flu specifically, but think about the concepts. The introduction to viruses, part of the source material, lays out the basics. A virus is this tiny thing, causes illness,
Okay.
and it spreads through the air, by touch, sharing things. That idea of spread is where I started seeing a connection.
Spread. Okay, I can kind of see where you might be going, like how economic news or panic can spread.
Exactly. Or even how the use of a particular currency might spread. But first, let's just quickly cover the virus basics from the source. They list key vocabulary.
Right, terms we've all heard a lot lately. Virus, the bug itself, infection when it gets in and grows.
And symptoms, the signs you're sick.
Yeah.
Fever, cough.
Runny nose, sore throat, aches.
Yeah.
And a fever is high temperature. Cough, sneeze. Those are symptoms, but also how it spreads, right? Expelling droplets.
Precisely. And that leads to the term spread itself, moving from one person or place to another. How easily does it spread?
Is that related to how contagious it is?
Yep. Contagious basically means it passes easily between people. Some viruses are way more contagious than others.
Okay. Then there's the body fighting back.
Right.
Yeah.
The immune system, our natural defense, and ways we try to help it or stop the spread. Vaccines, quarantine.
Staying home so you don't infect others.
Exactly. Plus, social distancing, wearing a mask, using hand sanitizer.
Got it. And if you do get sick,
Then you need treatment, medical care, and you see doctors or nurses. Pretty standard stuff we've become familiar with.
okay. So the parallels, you mentioned spread. A successful currency like the dollar has a widespread, you could say. It's used everywhere.
You could definitely frame it that way. And think about contagious. Economic downturns can feel very contagious, can't they? Trouble in one market ripples outwards fast.
Yeah, like a financial contagion. But is it the same kind of spread? A virus is a physical thing jumping between people? Economic panic is more like fear spreading.
That's a really important distinction. You're right. The mechanisms are totally different. One's biological transmission. The other is often about confidence, psychology, interconnected financial systems failing.
But the effect can feel similar. Rapid, widespread impact.
Absolutely. And in both cases, interconnectedness is key. Global travel spreads viruses. Globally linked markets spread financial shocks.
Okay. I'm seeing it now. What about the immune system idea? Can an economy have an immune system?
Well, it's an analogy, of course, but yeah, you could argue that. A really diverse economy, not reliant on just one industry, might be more resilient. Like a strong immune system, it can handle a localized problem, like one sector having a downturn without the whole system collapsing.
That makes sense, like not putting all your eggs in one basket. And vaccines. Economic vaccines.
Again, metaphorically, you could think of things like strong banking regulations or maybe government safety nets or even diverse national investment strategies as kinds of vaccines. Preventative measures designed to lessen the shock of a crisis.
Interesting way to think about it. Preventative measures against financial illness.
Sort of, yeah. The video even had this little story about a student, Lena, getting sick.
Oh, right.
It just illustrated the basic concepts. She had symptoms, was contagious, had to quarantine, her immune system fought it off, her family used masks, hand sanitizer, prevention.
So she lived through the vocabulary, basically.
Pretty much. And she learned from it, which kind of mirrors what we're trying to do with currency, right? Go beyond just defining it. Understand the forces, the impacts.
Yeah, definitely. So wrapping this up, we've looked at currency not just as money, but as this dynamic thing involved in global trade, Forex, with concepts like appreciation, depreciation.
Even drastic events like a whole country adopting another's currency, like Ecuador.
Right. And then, maybe surprisingly, we found these echoes in how we talk about health and viruses, ideas like spread, contagion, prevention, resilience.
They offer a different lens, don't they?
Yep.
A way to think about how systems, whether financial or biological, can be interconnected and vulnerable, but also how they can be protected.
It definitely makes you think. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, considering how linked global markets are and how quickly something like a virus can travel, what other parts of life, things that seem totally separate, might actually share these deep down principles? Principles of exchange, risk, how things spread, how we build resilience.
Where else do these patterns show up? Something to chew on.
Definitely.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you next time.